Hong Kong used to keep pace with Singapore, but recently it seems to have fallen behind. Yes, Hong Kong is still a highly developed economy with a per capita GDP of $50,000, exceeding developed countries such as Japan and South Korea, but Singapore's per capita GDP has climbed to $84,000. Many people attribute Hong Kong's lagging behind to the Chinese government's tightening control over Hong Kong and the subsequent large-scale protests. But the fact is that after the Sino-US trade war started in 2018, it is impossible for the United States to tolerate Hong Kong continuing to be the world's financial center. After all, Hong Kong is Chinese territory, and the Hong Kong government is directly responsible to the central government. So even if the Chinese government does not do anything, the United States will definitely find a way to mess up Hong Kong. During the financial crisis in 1998, Wall Street wanted to harvest Hong Kong, but was repelled by the Chinese government. 20 years later, China's economic strength is far greater than that of that year. It is obviously unlikely to bring down Hong Kong through financial means. Then they can only start from politics. After all, even with the strength of the United States, it is impossible to occupy Hong Kong by military means. Hong Kong and Singapore have both made outstanding contributions to China's economic growth. Cities in mainland China use Singapore as a model for urban governance, while Guangdong Province, the pioneer of reform and opening up, had Hong Kong as its main source of investment in the early days. Hong Kong is now a special administrative region of China, and Singapore, as an independent Chinese country, is also very friendly to China. So emotionally, I like both cities very much, and hope they will become better. But in this video, I want to talk about some topics that make Hong Kong people uncomfortable. In fact, Hong Kong's governance level has always been inferior to Singapore. The pioneering spirit of Hong Kong people is actually not as good as Singapore. This has a lot to do with the way the two cities got started. After the end of the Kuomintang Communist Civil War, the British were ready to retreat, but the CCP did not take the opportunity to occupy Hong Kong, but left Hong Kong as a window for external contact. This is destined to give Hong Kong a special status. As long as Hong Kong does not make trouble, it can develop even if it lies flat. After all, it is the external window of the entire China, and the British are also happy to see it happen because they can also gain huge benefits from it. Before the reform and opening up, the whole of China was in ruins, and Hong Kong became the most important channel for foreign capital to enter mainland China. At the same time, Hong Kong is also the first channel for Chinese companies to go overseas. Therefore, a large number of mainland enterprises are listed in Hong Kong, and a large amount of foreign capital has gathered in Hong Kong, making Hong Kong a prestigious international financial center. Guangdong Province has been one of the most economically developed and socially open regions in China since modern times. After the reform and opening up, the Chinese government established a special economic zone in Shenzhen, and the Pearl River Delta became the economic center of the South. The cities around Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Dongguan, Foshan, Guangzhou, etc., are almost all the most developed cities in China. They are also the economic hinterland of Hong Kong. The Chinese government uses strong foreign exchange reserves to protect Hong Kong from the invasion of big countries. Even the drinking water, vegetables, meat, and other daily necessities of Hong Kong people are specially selected by the mainland. In order to ensure the supply of electricity, the Chinese government built the Daya Bay nuclear power station in Huizhou. The Chinese government also built the Beijing-Kowloon Railway, the Beijing-Hong Kong Expressway, the high-speed railway, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Cross-Sea Bridge, etc. It can be said that Hong Kong is the Chinese city with the most privileges besides Beijing and Shanghai. As long as the Hong Kong government is not stupid, Hong Kong is destined to be the pearl of the Orient. Singapore is completely different. Today we say that Singapore controls the Strait of Malacca and has obvious geographical advantages. But in fact, the Strait of Malacca also has Malaysia and Indonesia, and it is not exclusive to Singapore. If Singapore wants to stand out, it must rely on real competitiveness. After Singapore was forced to become independent, Lee Kuan Yew led Singaporeans to win Singapore an advantage with advanced thinking and precise routes. When Singapore became a shipping center city, it withstood the challenges of neighboring countries and firmly grasped the historical opportunity. Hong Kong was protected by Britain before its return, and by the Chinese government after its return. These are all world powers. Singapore must not only develop its economy, but also develop its national defense to prevent other countries from coveting it. At the same time, Singapore must deal with the United States, a maritime hegemon, and let it provide shelter for Singapore. In other words, everything in Singapore is achieved through government planning and the struggle of the people. It does not have the capital to win by lying down like Hong Kong. Shipping cannot support Singapore to become a developed country like it is now. Singapore needs to develop high-tech industries and the financial industry. To be honest, with Singapore in Southeast Asia, what qualifications does it have to covet Hong Kong's position? Moreover, Singapore is a Chinese country. After China's rapid rise, the United States' suspicion of China has become deeper and deeper, and Singapore can be said to be walking on thin ice. It is necessary to stabilize the United States, but not to speak badly of China. Because as a country as small as a booger in the mouth of Taiwanese officials, Singapore cannot afford to offend anyone. However, the Singaporean government has achieved the best of both worlds. Not only has it maintained a perfect balance between China and the United States, it has also become the brain of ASEAN and has made great achievements in the international arena. Hong Kong, which prospers because of mainland China, will certainly be backlashed by mainland China. As a privileged city after Beijing and Shanghai in the heart of the Chinese government, Hong Kong has a low degree of national identity among the people. The Chinese government has to support Shenzhen and reduce its dependence on Hong Kong. At the same time, Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China. The U.S. government will never allow Hong Kong to grow bigger and will inevitably take action against Hong Kong. After years of dependence, Hong Kong has been living in a greenhouse. The drastic changes in the external environment have not been effectively projected into the brains of Hong Kong people. Therefore, after the full confrontation between China and the United States in 2018, large-scale riots broke out in Hong Kong in 2019, and then the Chinese government took tough management measures against Hong Kong, downgraded Hong Kong's positioning, and made Shenzhen the core city of the Greater Bay Area. Singapore, due to its flexible diplomacy, has taken on a large amount of funds and services after Hong Kong's misfortune, and has steadily surpassed Hong Kong. Moreover, China always needs a communication channel with Western countries. If Hong Kong cannot act it alone, then let Singapore have a share. There is no reason for the Chinese government not to support Singapore. Of course, Hong Kong people do not need to be pessimistic. After all, Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China and one of the few core cities in the country. Hong Kong people can travel to Western countries more conveniently and can also work, live, and start businesses in the mainland with supranational treatment. As long as Hong Kong has a clear positioning and integrates into the Greater Bay Area, it will be easy to maintain long-term prosperity.